I'm going to talk about how to search for a home, because searching for a home is actually one of the easiest things to do. So it's not really, really important, because the technology that we have today is everything is on your phone. You can swipe and find any house in the country pretty easily. But the question is, what are you going to do with buying a home? And how do you search for a home? So instead of talking about how to search for a home, I want to talk about creating a framework, a idea on how to find and build a plan on buying a home. So my background is economics, and also did an MBA. So I'm very technical, and I like to be technical. So when I start a project and I try to find something to do, I always try to build a strategic planning pyramid. So basically, it's a pyramid, and there's four levels. The first one is vision, then it's goals, then strategy, and then it's action plan. Because I want to build a roadmap for me to be successful. So in the first one, I'm looking at the vision. What is my vision of what I want to accomplish? And you can do this by asking yourself a bunch of questions. Like, for example, what kind of lifestyle am I seeking when I'm buying a home? How will owning a home fit in my overall family and career plans? Because if you're buying a home and you're going to be there for a while, you need to have the home fit in your career plans. Because if you're going to be moving in 5 years, or you have a plan to move in 5 or 7 years careers, and the local economy does not support a new career, then is buying a home right for you at that time? How long, for example, how long you need to live in this home? Where do you see yourself in 2, 5, or 10 years? And then you can become more specific and ask yourself, okay, what location do I prefer? Is commuting a factor? Do I want to spend 2 hours driving in to work, or do I just want to walk to my job within a couple of blocks? So these are the questions you ask yourself, so you can have a vision of what you want to accomplish by owning a home. And then once you have a vision, then you can ask yourself, okay, what are my goals, my specific goals? Do I want to buy a home because I don't want to rent? Or is it because I want to make it an investment? Or it is cheaper for me? You have to figure out why you want to buy a home and how it fits within your vision. So for example, once you decide to make a goal, you need to figure out, okay, how am I going to get there? So you have to break it down into parts. So you decide, I want to buy a home. Okay, well, how do you get to buy a home? Well, first of all, you need to figure out where you want to buy a home. So you have to research different neighborhoods and understand their pricing. You have children, you want to think about schools. Okay, which schools are good? How am I figuring out which schools are good for my children? Do they need special type of education? Do they need accessibility to, for example, high achieving types of classes? Are they available in that county, or where is it available? Or I want to learn my kids to learn Chinese. Is there a school that actually has a program to learn Chinese or Spanish or different languages? You have to figure out your commute time and try to figure out what your goals in your commute time. How much you want to spend? Do you want to spend like $7 driving to the metro, and then paying another $5 for the metro? So you have to make decisions on these things and figure out what your goal for that is. So you create different goals, and then you figure out what you need to do for each goal. So researching rank and select neighborhoods that fit your vision. That's a goal you need to achieve to make a good decision. You need to create a budget to save X amount of money for a down payment. That's another goal. You need to apply and register for state programs, for example, with Alvaro. That's another goal. So you have to figure out how you're going to achieve that. And you make a list. So you create the vision, then you create all the goals to achieve that vision. And then you break it down into steps. And each step is going to help you get to your goal, because it's kind of like if you want to be a whale just eats small bites. So you have to make everything breaking down into micro goals in order to make it easier to achieve. And then once you have your goals, then you have to figure out what the strategy you're going to be using. I like Napoleon. He has some very fantastic quotes. One of them is, "The strategy is the art of making use of time and space, and I'm less concerned about the latter than the former. Space we can recover, lost time never." So it's always good, even if your goal is to buy a home in 5 years or 3 years, set the goals, the vision and the goals, and your strategy on how to achieve it, and then breaking it down into small parts that are achievable and easy to attain. Because time you'll never recover, space you will. And that was one of the best things that Napoleon taught at basically 4 different coalitions against him over a 20-year period. So, for example, for a strategy, you want to save for a down payment. So what could be a strategy to save for a down payment? You could reduce spending. That's a strategy. You can earn more interest on your current savings or your accounts that you currently have. So switching around, instead of having a savings account that only earns 0.25%, maybe looking at a money market that can earn you 5%, for example, in the short term. You can cut spending by cutting subscription, finding cheaper alternatives, using discounts, reducing usage. Another strategy would be, hey, figuring out what a good lender and what type of strategies that they have in order to help you. And even a good agent, like me. So once you determine what results and what time frame you're working with, you need to accomplish your goals and your vision. You need to determine the resources that you have or the resources that you can gather to meet your goals. And then you strategize on how best to use these resources over the time you have. So for example, you determine what your result is, what you want to achieve. Determine the results you require and the time to achieve them. Then you have to determine the resources you have. Okay, do you have a good job? Do you have the ability to get a better job, for example, in the next year or 2 to get more earnings? Then you lay out your strategy. How am I going to, with that new job, with this extra earnings, how can I save more? How can I put more for a down payment? How can I build my credit score in order to get to where I want to be in 5 years to buy a home? And then you determine how you will track your progress. For example, it's not just enough to say, I'm going to save $100 a month. Okay, how are you going to do it and how are you going to track it? So you got to have a budget, and then track your budget every single week and make sure that you're on the course that you laid out. It's not always like, okay, today I'm going to get that Starbucks coffee that's, with macchiato with extra milk, and that's $7. You can do it at home and save that $7, for example. That's, having the determination and the drive to continue. And it's always easier if you have a plan, you set your goals, and then you track them all the time in order to prepare yourself for the long run. And then we get to the action plan. These are the last step. It's like the little tactics, the little work that you have to do on a daily basis and make sure that you achieve them in order to achieve your vision and the goals that you laid out based on your vision, and then the strategy that you created for those goals. Like, for example, if your goal is to save a certain amount of money for a down payment, you can do, for example, process 1, you set up a budget. How much money do I have to work with on a monthly basis? What's my gross? What do I have to pay in taxes? What's my healthcare costs? What's my commuting time? And how much do I spend for commute? How much do I spend on groceries? What am I spending on these groceries? Am I buying things that I need or don't need? So setting up a budget and understanding how you're spending on a daily basis will help you determine where you can cut, where you can expand, where your needs are and where your needs are not. Then the second process, you can set up an automatic saving transfer. So, for example, there's some bank accounts that let you, every time you make a purchase, they let you round up to like the next dollar and whatever that difference is, it goes into your savings account. That's a really easy step. You're going to the grocery store, you're paying $99.87, well, it rounds it off. That's like a few pennies right there that goes into your savings. Every little bit will count over the time. The step 3 will be find and renegotiate or get discounts for services or goods you need to use. Do you need 5 different subscriptions for streaming, for example? Well, maybe or maybe not. We can look at how you're spending and where you're spending it and see where you can like reduce your costs. And then step 4, which I think is always the most important thing, is tracking your progress weekly and writing down your spending and see where you can improve on a monthly basis or a weekly basis. A lot of people, they say, I want to save, but then they don't track what they're spending. And then they're not able to save what they want because they let themselves have these little guiltless little pleasures. Oh, today I'm going to have a cup of coffee. Oh, today I'm going to go to the movies or something. You can budget those items on a monthly basis. Okay, I'm going to have, once a week, once a month, I'm going to go to the movies, with my husband or with my girlfriend or somebody. Once a week, I'm going to have coffee with my friends. It's not eliminating everything, but budgeting it in order to achieve your goals. Now, if your goal is to improve your credit, you can implement a different type of strategy. For example, the first one, you can sign up with credit repair agencies that can look at where your credit is, where you have deficiencies, and where they can help you. Maybe there's an account that was old that's still being reported. Maybe they can help you get it off of your credit report in order to get your credit report higher. You can create a budget that's reasonable and a table to pay off some debts. You can set up automatic payments so that you don't ever have a late fee that actually impacts your credit score. You can transfer accounts to higher yielding accounts or have debts that you can move around to lower interest rates. Sometimes you can do a balance transfer to a lower interest credit card or have a 0 interest credit card for 6 months. Then you can use it to pay it off. And you can reduce your interest payments and reduce your costs overall. And then, of course, you always want to track again and monitor your credit to improve it. And even once you get into the point where you're ready to buy and you want to buy, you can use the same strategy. For example, when you wanted to decide if you want to buy a house, which house to select. So one thing I like to do is actually create a matrix. So you have, on the left-hand side, you have the homes that you're looking at, for example, and on the top right, you have all the different criteria they have. For example, price, is it move-in ready, location, commute, features, and you can make it as complex as you want. Like, for example, I have this little thing here that I built. So in this example, I have 4 houses that I'm looking at. But what I did is I built an entire system whereby I'm going to be comparing every single house against each other. And you can make it as complex or as simple as you want. For example, like here, I have exterior criterias that I set up, and I have a score between 1 and 10, for example. I have structural information. I have interior information, kitchen. Well, if kitchen is the most important, because I know some of you like to cook, you want to have the perfect kitchen. Is it designed the right way? Does it have the right triangular shape? Do I have enough counter space? Do I have enough storage? So you can make it as complex as you want, and then you add up all your scores, and it can help you make a more detailed and more mathematical decision, and not just relying on emotions. And then, of course,
Just a quick question, are these resources available somewhere?
Actually, I'm going to give you
Okay, wonderful.
this. I have this Excel sheet that's available on Google Share. And actually what you do, so I have every home here, So I built this, and you can put notes when you go and tour a home, and you just jog it down, and you put your score for each individual criteria. For example, for landscaping, the quality of the deck, the foundation and type of condition, the exterior, and then you rank them on a 1 to 10 scale, and then you do it for each home. So this is the first one. This is an actual home that's for sale. This is the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. And then I have a master sheet that actually brings in all the data together. And then what I have on the right-hand side, I have different weights. And whenever I think, I think exterior is more important than interior, or the interior is more important than exterior. And then I can change the weights as I want based on my personal preferences or my personal tastes and likes. And then you can play around and see what makes sense for you. And once you make, for example, when you decide what your vision is, what is the vision of your home? Do I want a big home? Do I want a small home? Why do I need a big home? Why do I need a small home? And you ask yourself a question: what are the features that I need for this home? Oh, I need a big kitchen. I need a big backyard because I have kids, I have dogs or something. And then that could help you when you create your vision plan, create the weights that you need. And then you can build it out, and then you can use it for 15 homes. I actually even have an app, website, like you can just go in while you're touring a home, and it's a bunch of questions. You just fill it out, and then it sends you an email, with all the results that you put, and then you can just create this Excel sheet for you.
I imagine this might come in handy too during home inspections.
Yes, because then you can look at that and then get your home inspection report, and you see that, what you were thinking and what the home inspector was thinking, and then you can compare the two. Because home inspection, I have someone that's going to be coming for home inspection that's going to be talking about like what to look for, what not to, what is important, what is not that important. So you might have different ideas of what is important for you versus what an inspector is. For example, an inspector is more going to look at structural issues, mechanical, plumbing, roofing, things like that, while you might have some personal needs and wants or personal requirements. You have 2 kids, you need to have an extra 2 bathrooms, like because they have a boy and a girl, or you need to have one that's very young, so you need to have one that's at least a tub, to give her a bath. Everybody has their own needs and requirements for each home, which is somewhat separate from what an inspector is going to be looking at. But then you can marry it up the two and make sure that they fall together and they fall within what you wrote down is your vision of what you want to do and what you want to have. So going back, so here this is just a simplified version of it. So I have price, move-in ready, location, commute, features, and based on what's important to me, okay, for me, price, that 4125 tree line, that's the best price. But move-in ready, it's the first one. Location is back at tree line. Commute is easier for tree line, and then features, tree line is better. So you can have, every house is going to be different, and every house is going to have positives and negatives, and you have to weigh them, against each other. But the question is, how are you going to weigh these things? Well, if you have a vision, and you have a plan, and you wrote a strategy, and you have action plans, and you build this to help you make a decision, it's going to help you narrow things. And instead of being, oh, I love this house, this is the only house I want, I'm willing to pay whatever. No. Come back and try to get away from the emotional attachment, because at the end, what makes a house a house? It's you. You're the ones living in it. You are going to be creating the history and the memories within the house and the emotional attachment. Everybody falls in love with their home, given enough time. Because you're building history, you're building memories, you're building moments with your family, with your friends coming over, having barbecues, having your first birthdays, the first dog that comes in. You're driving your new car, on the driveway. That's an experience that you'll have attached to your home. So you can make any home a castle. You can make any home a mansion, because it's you, the residents, that are going to be making these memories and history. So emotions, you'll be creating them. So don't jump right away in them before, making the math work and making the plan work for what your situation is. So again, action plans are the nitty-gritty, the little applications that you'll be building, like for example, that matrix, or the plan, the little tasks that you'll be creating to monitor your credit, fix your credit, the little tax to build your down payment by saving and creating a budget. So the action plans are important, but they are built on top of the strategy, and the strategy is built on top of the goals, and the goals are, you have the vision on top of that. And they all work together in order to create a framework for you to make a good decision. So in conclusion, the first thing is create your vision, determine your short, medium, and long-term goals for home ownership. Then your goals will be to break them down into bite-sized pieces in order for them to chew on them. Nobody can eat a tuna in one mouthful, but if you break it down and make it sushi, it's a lot easier. You can eat a ton of sushi one at a time. Then you have your strategy. Is once you have your goal, is how do you build the strategy, the best way to get them achieved, and how to make them more achievable. Then you build your action plans, which are the little actions that you need to do on a daily basis, like tracking your budget, building on your credit, saving on your down payment, building a framework on how to assess which neighborhood you're going to buy, which home you're going to buy based on which criteria. And once you create this framework, that's going to help you make a decision and make a more mathematical, more reasoned decision versus an emotional one. And in the last few years, what we've seen a lot of people come in, pay hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking price, and by the time they move in, they have buyer remorse because they thought they paid too much. But if you have a plan and you have a strategy and you have a vision, that is going to help you make not only the system for you to get to buy a home, but also in order for you to make the good decision based on the right reason, because you laid out your vision of what you want versus kind of gunning it here and there. Go, I love this house, I love this neighborhood. But wait a second, the neighborhood next door has cheaper homes. They're bigger and nicer. They meet your needs better. So my thing that I want people, especially first-time home buyers, to do is to really come up with a plan and make sure that the plan meets your needs. And that is my presentation. Justin, you want to go next? Thank you.